Hi, everyone. Welcome to All About the Joy. I am Carmen Lisette, your host, and this is Carmen Talk. Hi, everyone. One of the things that I feel really comfortable that I have done my entire life is I take the small wins. When you get a small win, whatever it is, take it, embrace it, and hold on to it. Because sometimes those small wins, like whether it's your boss saying, hey, you did a great job on that, don't brush it off. And look I am the queen of brushing off compliments. Like I really suck at it. So I'm not talking about the initial, like you have that little embarrassment or whatever. Everyone has a way in which they can take in information. But when someone says something kind to you or does something out of the blue or anything, you hold on to it because we need those little wins sometimes while we wait for the big ones, right? And I think a lot of times we don't even see a big win when it happens. And as I share with you what happened this week, please understand that why I am sharing this is because we need to have a different conversation about how we deal with each other online, how we deal with each other as people who are parents and people who are not parents, and also how we deal with each other regarding our generations and who we are in those generations. And that's not to put us in these labels, but I think it matters. So first, let me talk about what happened. There are quite a few creators that are incredible that have had children in the past, I don't know, a month, I would say. Aaron Parnas is one of them. A lot of people follow him. He does a lot of news stuff online, and he's a young kid, but he's brilliant. He's brilliant. And he recently had an infant, I think a daughter, but I'm not sure. And I think the first time I noticed it was, I tend not to watch him. I tend to sometimes listen to him in the morning. And he said something about, I think he did have a daughter. He had his daughter's foot. He was using his daughter's foot as a microphone because he was watching her as he was doing the news. The other person is V, who does Under the Desk News, one of my favorite shows that I watch. And V had I'm not sure, daughter or son, not sure, infant, and announced that while doing the news. And so you can imagine already what's going to happen, right? There are people who then turned around and were angry that the children were involved in the news. Now, let me be clear, the children were not involved in the news, but they were in the shot in some way, shape, or form, or they were talked about, or they were cooing in the background, whatever it is, okay? So some people were really thrown by that and upset by that. And other people thought it was lovely and wonderful and great. And, oh, you had a baby. And so there were all these comments. And then in the comments are people just being angry about it. So I, being the idiot that I am, I actually can understand both sides of this argument. And let me start here with, I'm Generation X. I grew up in a time when children were not heard or seen, right? We barely even existed. And that's not to cry victimhood at all. It was a very different time. There are pluses to that. But you were told to go outside and play, right? You were told to go to your room if adults were having a conversation in the kitchen or whatever. You would never in a million years be part of any conversation happening between adults. And I use this example, and oh my God, I love all of my friends. So all of my friends, as I say this, don't get angry. But I have friends that I haven't talked to in a long time. We'll get on the phone. They'll call, right? Because we still do the phone thing. We don't just text all the time because we're Generation X, right? But we'll get on the phone or we'll get on a Zoom or something. And a phone call that might take 40 minutes, right? Because we haven't caught up or whatever, will take 2 hours. And it will take 2 hours, not just because I talk a lot or they talk a lot or we have so much to catch up on, but it'll take that long because each one of their kids will call out mom, or we'll ask them a question, or I'll have to see them in the frame and we'll have to have a conversation with the kid, right? So it's a different thing. I'm telling you, when I grew up, that never happened. You would never, ever be calling out your mom's name while your mom was on the phone or talking to the friends in the neighborhood. It would never happen. Okay. And I feel comfortable saying most Gen X kids did not grow up with the ability to constantly interrupt their parents while they were having adult conversations. Okay. So that's one part of it. It's a generational thing as well. Kids had their place, and we grew up knowing that we were not involved in our parents' business, professionally, socially, or whatever. Pros and cons to that, but that's changed in this day and age. Now, everything is about the kids. Everything is kids first. So if you're having a conversation with your friends, those kids come first. And kids want to interrupt a business meeting, or they want to interrupt a conversation that you're having, socially with your friends. Those kids get first rights. Fair enough. There are pros and cons to that. Wonderful. I don't care. I love my friends. I love my friends' kids. I love to see the kids. I enjoy having the conversation. So I am setting this up because what happened this week, and I'm going to blame the creators on this because they did not handle it well. What happened this week was a generational shift, and also the inability to have compassion and understanding for what people are talking about. Now, I'm not trying to label everybody who complained about the children as Gen Xers. That is not what I'm trying to do because I don't know who they were. I have no idea. I'm just giving you from my point of view what I saw happen, okay? And I was trying to intervene. That was probably my biggest mistake, to try to be the conduit and say, hey, here's what's happening. You don't have to get all upset about it. Because listen, there's a difference between being child free and child hate. Okay. You can be child free and still love children. Okay. I say this all the time. I have many nieces and nephews, and I'm a godmother to 5 of them, really 6, but officially 5 of them. Okay. I love children. I am child free. I do not have children. I never wanted children. There's a whole history about it, right? But that's a choice. That doesn't mean I hate children. If anything, I love them. I do think, however, that there has been a generational shift, and some people haven't figured that out. Now, I am not a psychologist. Oh my God, I'm saying this every episode because I think it's important. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor, but here's what I want to say. A generational shift in how we deal with children in all facets doesn't mean it's good or bad. But I'm going to tell you right now, I absolutely understand why sometimes people get thrown when kids are the consumption of everything that's happening on the planet. And I say this respectfully, but I think Generation X and the way we grew up, that was bad. It was, we can talk about all the good parts about it, but there was also abandonment. There was also the idea that you didn't matter. There was also the thing that nobody cared about you. You know what I mean? Like, we can glorify every generation we want, but there were also downsides to also being out on the streets all day long and nobody seeming to know where you were or what you were doing. There are pluses and minuses to those. But I will also tell you, I know for a fact a lot of people felt abandoned, felt unloved, felt uncared for. I was one of those kids. Okay? So on the flip side, it's the constant, like I see kids who cannot just sit by themselves for a fucking minute while their parents are just trying to do something, right? It boggles my mind. Kids cannot be by themselves. They are not as independent as maybe they could be. There are no boundaries, right? Doesn't matter, baby. You need something, I'm here for you, right? So before I get shit in the comments, because this is what happened, people are like, V is trying to take care of their infant child. How dare you? You know what I mean? I was like, dude, bring it down a notch. Like, that's not what we're talking about. Okay, I'm not questioning V's choices or Ann Parnas's choices. What I'm saying is you have to be able to have a compassionate, you have to have empathy, you have to have an understanding of a bigger picture here. And this is your audience. Your audience is reacting to change. And that's the other part of this I want to talk about. When you are a celebrity, and I don't care if it's as a content creator, influencer, or a celebrity here in Hollywood, I'm going to tell you the same thing I have told many, many people, okay, that I've worked with. You cannot have it both ways. There is no way you can be a celebrity in the public eye and then be bitching and moaning when somebody says something that is contrary to what you're doing. And instead of reacting and making it worse, which is what both of them did, okay? And this is because I think they're young. And I say that not age-wise. I say that they are taking on the world. They are changing the world with their skill and their talent. And I don't know who the people are they have around them, but they have been doing this stuff on their own for a long time. And I'm not saying I'm the person to teach them shit. I'm just saying from my experience, you cannot do what you did and then allow your audience to fight amongst themselves. And maybe that is what happens with content creation. And maybe that's how the algorithm gets going. I do not believe for one moment that was V or Aaron Parnas's intention with why they kind of reacted the way they did. Like, people in my comments are upset because I have a baby and da-da-da. And then their audience goes at it and starts fighting everybody. No, that's not how you handle it. To me, this is the same thing like the paparazzi, right? Here in Hollywood, especially back in the day, paparazzi were everywhere, and it was horrible. And the way in which a celebrity handled that changed the trajectory in which not only the paparazzi dealt with them, but their audience dealt with them too. You could take an approach and punch the paparazzi. That would be one way, but then you just damage yourself. You know what I mean? That would be one way. The other part of this too is that you just can't have it both ways. You need to understand that if you put something out there, if you make a change, people are going to react to change because people don't like change. So if we come to watch your content and we have an expectation of that content and you make a change by using your daughter's foot as a microphone and we all of a sudden now know you have a child, that is change. And some people will react with joy and happiness and excitement and whatever, and other people will not. And what you do as a content creator in that moment is so vital to the way in which you keep your audience. Now, for me, it would have been so much better if you told people that you had a child, and I think they both did. I don't know. I think they both did. And then made a decision that you were going to have your child in the shot and let people know that first. There's still going to be the grumpy people who are not going to like change, but you gradually walk that in. You gradually allow people to get comfortable with change. And then when the hateful people who are just emotionally needing their Aaron Parnas or their under the desk news, like when those people come out anyway, because baby, they will, you know what I mean? You don't fan the flames. You don't do posts like, huh? What? No, you let it go. You let it go. Maybe you turn around and you say something, I know that the change in my life has changed the way in which you all receive me now. I am so grateful to still have the opportunity. You make it about the audience. You don't make it about, I have the right to have a baby. I have the right to do this and because it makes you look like a selfish asshole. Now, I got a lot of hate for kind of saying the same thing in just some comment sections. I was like, I had people, and here's my other thing. This is so funny. I had people who were like, you have issues. You need mental health help. So people were saying you have a parasocial relationship with the content creator. And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Like, how are you guys so messed up about how the world works? And what I realized, like at first I started reacting, because look, I'm ghetto, okay? I have no qualms telling you about where I grew up. Most of you don't know that. People who watch the show know where I come from and what I've been through. And we all have our stories. I don't play victim or whatever. But if you're going to come at me, bitch, I'm going to come at you. Okay? I'm going to come right back at you. And what I realized that was kind of my mistake too, was I should have let it go. I came in with kindness. I came in with just trying to let people know, hey, this is what's going on. You know what I mean? And the fury of me even saying anything about the possibility that some people are not used to having children around all the time. Oh my God, bring it down a fucking notch with the children shit for real, people. I don't think growing up, the way I did, where most Gen Xers did not have anyone around all the time, was right. But I also think this obsession with like children are the only thing that matters is also bad. It's also bad. This is why we have issues. There is no structure. There are no boundaries. There is no even ability to have a conversation about what those structures and boundaries might possibly could be. Because if you say anything about children that isn't all fluffy and puppies and lollipops and rainbows, somehow you hate children. Now, I do not hate children. What I hate is bad parenting. What I hate is people who don't understand that sometimes the choices you're making because you're reading 15 different books on parenting instead of trying to think about common sense is that sometimes children need structure. Sometimes children need some boundaries. Sometimes children, baby, you need a break. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you need a break. And sometimes that could just be a phone call with a friend without your children bothering you every 20 minutes or whatever. But you know what I'm trying to say. Here's my thing. I do not have children. I still to this day think it was the best decision I ever made. And the reason why is because I think it's the hardest job in the world. And I see so many people floundering and stressed out and crazed. And I keep thinking to myself, like, yeah, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. God bless you. I think you're amazing. Like, I just think being a parent is the hardest thing in the world. And I could not do it. I could never, ever do it. I am the best auntie in the world. I'm the best godmother in the world. And by the way, we don't have a holiday, but I just want to throw that in there. But that is not the same thing. It is not 24/7. And I totally get it. You cannot be angry with people because change happened. And change happened because you allowed it to happen the way you did. As a content creator, as somebody who is in the public eye, you cannot have it both ways. You can't be loving that you have this huge audience and this huge platform and this huge ability to make change and share with people, and then in the next breath be pissed because you made a change and then you got some backlash because of it. You can't have it both ways. What you can do is learn how to deal with things when your life changes and other people watching you see that change, depending on how you choose to walk through that change on camera, right? With your audience. And the last thing you want to do is not stoke the flames. I don't know what the right word is, but put gas on a smoldering fire, right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to make things worse by acting as if you could not possibly understand why people might be having the reaction that they have. And I want to get back to the small wins because this is important. When I said take the small wins, what was happening in the comment section of what I wrote was so much anger and hate, right? Clearly all parents, and all people who thought they were diagnosing me from one or two tweets I did. It wasn't tweeting, it's threading. I don't know, whatever. Comment sections. And, just I couldn't even believe it. I don't think I've had that much interaction on that platform before that. But what I realized was there were people that went in there that had the same point of view as some of the hateful people, but their tone and the way in which they chose to share their disagreement with me, or the way in which they chose to be like, you know what? I understand what you're saying, but here's what I think. I was like, oh my God, I totally hear you. Thank you for I was more happy with the way in which they disagreed with me than actually the content they were saying, because then you could have a real conversation. And I just felt it was such a win. It was like, okay, these people understand what I'm trying to say. And I took the win and I felt better about it. And what I realized is I had to react to those other people because they were so vile, but I didn't actually have to. I could have just let them keep doing what they were doing, right? I have to practice what I preach. It's kind of what I was saying about content creator. And I'm nobody. I have lovely, wonderful followers like you. But I'm just saying I'm not a content creator, right? I mean, I am, but I'm like this tiny bit, this little bit. But I also have to practice what I say as well. And so I kind of got really upset with people just being nasty. And I know this. Like, people get so vile in the comment section. Like, how do you think I'm going to hear you? I'm not going to hear you. I'm not going to hear you. And then people shut down because, like, if we gonna get ghetto, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win every single time. And then I realized, like, they're not listening anymore. Like, now we just fighting in the comment section, you know? So I want to give a shout out to all the people that did disagree with me, but did it in such a great tone and were so kind and lovely. And then we had a conversation. And I also want to give a shout out to people who also changed their mind and understood what I was saying, right? This is not about hating children. Please trust and believe. I can't even say it anymore. The last person on the planet would be me who hates children. I love children so much that I'm letting you know you need to bring it down a notch. And you need to really rethink why you believe that children have to be the topic, the be all, the end all, they're part of society. Look it. I think part of the bigger problem is we have lost the idea that it takes a village, right? I grew up, thankfully, with the village making sure I was okay. Now, the circumstances were very different and I ended up on the streets, but it was the village that raised me. Okay. And I write about that. I've already talked about that, but it's also in my book. I wrote a book honoring all of these people because I realized when I made it, I'm doing quotes, right? When I moved out here and I had this amazing job and I was doing so well and I understood that I made more money in 1 year than my mom had made her entire life, I broke down and realized how far I had come. And that was because the village of people raised me. It wasn't me being so brilliant on my own. It wasn't some, like people are like, you were an amazing kid. No, I mean, I was, but no. It takes a village to raise children. And what I see from my point of view is we've lost that, right? We don't know our neighbors, which is why I have All About the Joy. We don't, God forbid a neighbor would ever tell another child, another family's child that they can't do something or talk. I grew up having all neighbors telling me what I can and can't do or wondering where I'm going or who I'm with or whatever, We don't do that now. We don't even let teachers reprimand children, because they're going to get sued or whatever. It's just a really different time. And what I'm saying is there's some bad things about it, right? Just like there were bad things about when I grew up. Children need to be able to understand that there is a community of people around them, that it's not just the parents that they can go to for everything, or just the parents who are in charge of everything, or just the parents, and for you too, the reason why you're never going to get a break is because your children don't have anyone else to go to ask a question, to grow up, to be independent, or to think by themselves. They can't figure out things by themselves because they just come and ask you every 5 seconds. And then you talk them through it. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but these are like these moments where I'm like, stop. They can figure out what the steps are. If you would stop explaining every single thing to them, they can figure it out. Figure it out. I think one of the best things that used to happen to me, and too much of the time, but having to figure things out by myself because there wasn't an adult to go to, even if they were in the room, right? Even if you knew you couldn't go bother them, you had to figure it out by yourself. But that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Anyways, all right, I've went on too long with this. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. At the very least, please take the small wins. They're around us all the time. Kind of collect them all, because sometimes that's all you get until you get the big wins. The big wins do come around, just not as often. So collect all those little wins. Have joy, have joy, have joy more times than not. And remember, at the end of the day, it really is all about the joy. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thanks for stopping by All About the Joy. Be better and stay beautiful, folks. Have a sweet day.